My best friend and I have been friends for nearly 7 years. When we first met, she was struggling financially and lived paycheck to paycheck. At one point, her car broke down and she had no transportation to work, so I would let her borrow my car and never asked her for gas money or anything in return. At the time, I was financially secure and was happy to help her out. As the years went by, my financial situation changed, and just like her, I began living paycheck to paycheck. By this time, she had started dating a guy she met online, who revealed to her a few months into dating that he was a millionaire. They married shortly after, and suffice it to say, she has not had to struggle since. There have been a few times I have asked to borrow money, which I have always paid back. It's usually not much, less than $25 or so each time, and she would always oblige with no problems until recently. The last couple of times I asked to borrow money, she said she didn't have it, which I found odd. But then I asked to borrow $5, and she said the same thing, and I thought it was odd that she told me she didn't have $5 to spare. I know that ever since she got married, her brothers and a couple of other friends have tried taking advantage of her newfound wealth by asking to borrow money they never paid back, and having her bail them out of situations they put themselves in that have cost her a lot of money. I started to think that maybe I had forgotten to pay her back money I owed her at some point, so I reached out to her to ask if that was the case. When she told me that wasn't the case, as in I had always paid her back, I told her I felt hurt because it felt like if I needed her help with something, I used the example if I ended up in jail that I couldn't reach out to her for help because she couldn't even let me borrow $5. She replied and said that just like her brothers, I needed to learn how to budget my money better and that she can't be the one to bail everyone out. She said when she was struggling, she had to work multiple jobs and did what she had to do. I replied and said that it was not fair for her to lump me in with her brothers, as I have never done anything to take advantage of her, and I never would have said something like that to her when I let her borrow my car, and any time she would ask me to borrow money when she was struggling. I told her I loved her, but that I was ending the conversation, and she replied that this is why money and friends should never be mixed. Since then, she has reached out and said, "I didn't deserve that conversation last night. I hope you know that." To which I have not replied to and have no plans to. I am deeply hurt that she feels I was in the wrong, but I do not think I was the jerk here. I understand that I am not entitled to anyone's money, borrowed or not, but when she was in my shoes, I did everything I could to help her out. I could understand if I had asked to borrow a large amount of money, but I literally asked for $5. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, you're the idiot. You said you've asked her many times to borrow money. And while that's great you paid her back, friends aren't a bank to lend you money. Maybe it happens once or twice, but after that, come on. It's not her job to lend money to friends. That is harassing her friendship. And she's married, so her money is now their money. It is understandable that her husband may not agree with lending money, especially given the fact that her family abused her kindness. She is right. You should never mix money with friendship, especially when you are asking several times. My daughter had a friend who kept asking to borrow money. She felt used. I'm sure your friend feels the same way. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I'm honestly shocked at the comments. It's not like you're asking her for a huge amount of money, and it's not like you didn't pay her back before. And if she's that loaded, this is nothing to her. I would 100% understand her boundary if you had taken advantage of her in some way before, but you didn't. I honestly hope I never get rich enough to be this stingy with the people I love. At least if this is truly causing a problem in her relationship, she could tell you why. But I don't see how a millionaire husband would care about $5 or $20. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a while since my last post and a lot has happened in the past few days. After my friend sent me that message saying I didn't deserve the conversation we had, I decided to take some time to reflect on everything. I realized that maybe I had been too harsh on her and that I should have been more understanding of her situation. I mean, she's been through a lot with her brothers and other friends taking advantage of her, so I can see why she might be hesitant to lend money, even to me. I decided to reach out to her and apologize for how I reacted. I told her that I understood where she was coming from, and that I didn't mean to make her feel like I was trying to take advantage of her. She appreciated my apology, and said that she was sorry too for lumping me in with her brothers. We had a long talk about our friendship and how we both value it so much. During our conversation, she opened up to me about some things that have been going on in her life that I had no idea about. She told me that her husband has been struggling with some health issues lately, and that they've been dealing with a lot of medical bills. She said that's part of the reason why she's been so hesitant to lend money, even small amounts, because they're trying to save every penny they can. I felt terrible for not realizing what she was going through, and for assuming that she was just being selfish. I apologized again and told her that I completely understood and that I was there for her if she ever needed anything, even if it was just someone to talk to. We ended up reminiscing about old times and how far we've both come since we first met. She told me a story about how when we first became friends, she was so broke that she couldn't even afford to buy a birthday present for her mom. She said that I had given her some money to buy a gift, and that it meant the world to her. I had completely forgotten about that, but it made me realize how much our friendship has meant to both of us over the years. As we were talking, I realized that I had made a mistake in how I had been handling my own finances. I had been relying on borrowing money from friends and family instead of finding ways to budget better and save more. I decided that I needed to make some changes in my own life and start being more responsible with my money. The next day, I sat down and made a budget for myself. I cut out some unnecessary expenses and started putting more money into savings. It wasn't easy, but I knew that it was something I needed to do for myself and for my future. A couple of days later, my friend called me up and asked if I wanted to hang out. We ended up going out to dinner and catching up some more. She told me that she had been thinking a lot about our conversation and that she wanted to help me out in any way she could. She offered to help me look for a better paying job and even said that she would be willing to lend me some money if I ever needed it in the future. I was touched by her generosity and told her how much I appreciated it. We hugged, and I realized how lucky I was to have a friend like her in my life. Looking back on everything that happened, I realized that my mistake was in not communicating with my friend and assuming the worst about her intentions. If I had just talked to her and been honest about how I was feeling, we could have avoided a lot of misunderstandings and hurt feelings. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned from this experience and for the strength of my friendship with her. I know that no matter what happens in the future, we'll always be there for each other. Thanks for reading and letting me share my story with you all. Am I the idiot for going home instead of waiting for my sister and mom after they were late again? I, 27-year-old female, had plans to go out to dinner with my sister, 30-year-old female, as we do every month. She lives in my hometown, and I live in the next state over with my boyfriend. We're about 35 minutes to an hour apart, depending on traffic. We agreed to meet closer to hometown with my mom. One thing about her, she is always late. I expect she'll always be at least 30 minutes late, but it's been up to a few hours. And not just random plans, weddings, and graduations, too. It's been brought up in the past by Mom and I, but she always brushes it off and gets upset. My boyfriend drove me over, I can't drive, and he offered to drop me before he had to head out for plans of his own near home and come back when he was done. I assumed after dinner we would just hang out at her house either way, get to the place and start calling my sister. She usually doesn't say if she's going to be late, but if my mom is with her, she does. And I hadn't heard anything. I get Mom a few minutes later, and she says they're behind because it took a while to get my nephew, who's almost 1 year old, ready, and my sister got in the shower later than expected. I didn't even know my nephew was coming, and she usually tells me if he is. Her husband was apparently there to let Mom in when she showed up, but went back to sleep as soon as she got there. Not sure why he couldn't help get baby ready, but that's none of my business. I check maps, and it says 35 minutes, adding in getting baby strapped and secure, and then putting him in either the stroller or front carrier on her body. I was looking at 40 minutes. To top it off, we had reservations. She made the reservation, not me. I had never been to this place and didn't know if it was one of those places that don't let you have the table if your whole group isn't there. There was really no space to wait inside, and I'd have to stand outside. Anyway, I didn't feel like sitting alone for 40 minutes even if I could. She doesn't keep her friends waiting this long when they make plans. I don't get why it's okay to do this to me and Mom. I'm speaking to Mom as they're trying to change the reservation online. At that point, I was fed up. If we agree to be there at a certain time, be there. 5 or 10 minutes late is fine, but not this. I told Mom I was going back home. I didn't feel like fuming at the table and acting like I wasn't mad when they got there, as I'd done before. She sounded hurt and mad, but said fine and that she would go home too. Since then, I haven't spoken to my sister. It's been a few weeks. and Mom doesn't want to get in the middle. But I told her I wasn't speaking to her until I get an apology. Mom told her she can't keep doing this on their ride back home and agrees it's an issue, but won't say much else. It's ridiculous to just always be late because you're bad at time management. She also wants to use the "it takes long to get a baby ready" excuse, which I would accept if it wasn't for the fact that this has been a problem long before my nephew was born, or even a thought. So, am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. 1. Meet your mom on your own. Have your husband drop you at your mom's place and bring some food so it's not any work for her. 2. Forget your sister. She's incredibly rude and disrespectful. Just see her at holidays and other big family events. 3. Don't let her treat you like trash again. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Honestly, I would have stopped agreeing to go on a date with her outside a long time ago. If I have to wait, it better be somewhere comfortable. Otherwise, I won't go. My latest limit is 15 minutes, which I already find to be quite generous. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since my last post, and I wanted to give you an update on what's been happening. First off, thanks for all your support and advice. So, a few days after my post, my sister finally reached out to me. She apologized for being late and said she understood why I was upset. I was relieved to hear from her, and we had a long talk about how her tardiness has been affecting our relationship. She promised to work on her time management skills and to be more considerate of others' time in the future. I thought things were looking up, but then something unexpected happened. My boyfriend and I had been planning a weekend getaway for months, and we were supposed to leave on Friday. However, on Thursday night, he got a call from his boss saying that he needed to work on a critical project over the weekend. If he didn't, there was a risk that the company could lose a major client. My boyfriend was torn. He knew how much this trip meant to me, but he also didn't want to jeopardize his job. We had a long discussion about it, and in the end, he decided to stay and work on the project. I was disappointed, but I understood his decision. I decided to go on the trip alone, hoping that some time away would help me clear my head. But things didn't go as planned. When I arrived at the hotel, they had no record of my reservation. Apparently, my boyfriend had made the booking, and without him there, they couldn't find it in their system. I spent hours on the phone with customer service, trying to sort it out. But in the end, I had to find another place to stay. To make matters worse, the weather took a turn for the worse. It rained all weekend, and most of the outdoor activities I had planned were canceled. I ended up spending most of my time in my hotel room, feeling lonely and frustrated. When I got back home, I found out that my boyfriend's project had been a success. The client was happy, and his boss was impressed with his dedication. But I couldn't help feeling resentful. I had given up our trip for his work, and now it felt like it had all been for nothing. Looking back, I realized that my boyfriend and I have always had different priorities. He's always been focused on his career, while I've been more interested in experiences and relationships. It's something we've struggled with before, but this weekend really brought it to the forefront. I remember when we first started dating, he would always make time for me, no matter how busy he was at work. But as he's gotten more successful, it feels like his job has taken over his life. I know he loves me, but sometimes it feels like I'm not a priority anymore. I haven't talked to him about how I'm feeling yet. I don't want to start a fight, especially when things are already tense between us. But I know we need to have a conversation about our future and what we both want out of this relationship. As for my sister, things are still a bit awkward between us. We've talked a few times since her apology, but it feels like there's still some tension there. I know it's going to take time to rebuild our relationship, but I'm hopeful that we can get back to where we were before. Anyway, that's where things stand right now. It's been a tough week, and I'm still trying to process everything that's happened, but I'm grateful for the support of my friends and family, and I know that I'll get through this. Thanks for listening. Am I the idiot for planning a surprise camping trip in a tiny trailer, knowing my wife is claustrophobic? For the past month, my husband, 27-year-old male, and I, 28-year-old female, have been in a rut. We've been arguing about so many trivial things. Last week, he randomly asked me if I liked eating s'mores. I said I don't care for them, and rarely do I ever crave them. He then asked me what I thought of cabins and camping. I told him I don't care for either, to be honest, and the only way I would go camping is if it was a glamping experience. He nodded and said noted. Today, he tells me to be ready and dressed by 4 p.m. because we have a date planned. I put on a cute outfit because all he told me was we have a special date planned. Any other time he's said that, the date usually involves us going out to a fancy restaurant. So I put on a skirt, some heels, and a top. He sees my outfit, doesn't say anything. The only thing I noticed that was odd was that he brought his backpack with him. I asked him why, and he said that he just wanted to put his hoodie somewhere in case it got cold later. We get into the car, and 20 minutes into the drive, I ask him how far the restaurant we're going to is. He smiles and says, "About an hour." I pull up my phone and start responding to some work emails to unalive time. And then when we arrived at our destination, I honestly got so upset. It was a super tiny trailer in the middle of the West Virginia woods. There was a small picnic table outside and just woods. I ask him what we were doing there, and he turns to me and says, "Surprise! We're having a couple's retreat. Do you like it?" I walk inside the trailer and, mind you, my husband knows I am extremely claustrophobic. There is no room inside this trailer. I start panicking because A, I need physical space, B, I'm in heels and a skirt in the middle of the woods, C. He packed PJs, his toothbrush, and a change of clothes, but didn't think to tell me I'd be needing anything for this date. At that point, I just blatantly ask him, "Have I ever expressed any interest in camping to you?" He said no. And then I followed up with, "You know how much I hate small spaces. What made you think I'd enjoy this? I just really want to understand." He didn't say anything. I told him I appreciated the gesture, but I could not for the life of me figure out how he thought planning this in the way he did was going to help get us out of a rut. This isn't the first time he's planned something for me that I hated. And the worst thing, I've told him before if I've never expressed interest in something, to please not gift it to me or plan a date around it. I do a very good job at giving him extremely thoughtful gifts and planning him very thoughtful dates and experiences. And today I told him that it just seems like there isn't any consideration for me in that regard. Am I the jerk for reacting the way that I did? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. I'm bewildered by the idea of him planning a camping/outdoor/overnight type of event, not even hinting that you dressing up for going out to dinner was a problem, and not bringing along any toiletries or extra clothing for you. What was going on in this man's brain? I'm going to bring my wife out into the woods in inappropriate clothing and with nothing for her to change into or sleep in, and she's going to be happy about it? I don't necessarily mind camping, but this entire experience would feel disrespectful and piss me off. Comment 2. Does he have an ounce of respect for you? You actively told him you would not enjoy this experience, and he said, "Noted," and then took you anyway to the most half-assed camping plan with no proper packing or toiletries? Are you kidding? I would cry my eyes out and go wait in the car to go home. The complete lack of saying anything when he saw your outfit is what gets me too. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my previous post. A lot has happened in the past 3 days, and I wanted to give you all an update on the situation with my husband and the surprise camping trip. After expressing my frustration and disappointment with the poorly planned date, my husband and I had a long conversation. He apologized for not considering my feelings and preferences when planning the trip. He admitted that he had been feeling disconnected from me lately and thought that a unique experience like camping would help bring us closer together. While I appreciated his intention, I reiterated that I would have preferred if he had communicated with me beforehand. We decided to make the most of the situation and stayed at the trailer for the night. It was a challenging experience for me, given my claustrophobia, but I tried my best to manage my anxiety. The next morning, we went for a short hike in the woods, and I have to admit, it was quite beautiful. The fresh air and peaceful surroundings helped me relax a bit. On our way back home, my husband surprised me again, but this time in a way that I truly appreciated. He had secretly packed a picnic basket with some of my favorite foods and a bottle of wine. We stopped at a scenic overlook and enjoyed a lovely picnic together. It was a sweet gesture that showed me he was trying to make amends for the camping mishap. However, the real twist came when we returned home. As I was unpacking my husband's backpack, I found a letter addressed to him from a woman I didn't recognize. Curiosity got the best of me, and I read the letter. It turned out that this woman was an old college girlfriend of his, and she was writing to express her lingering feelings for him. She mentioned that they had recently reconnected on social media and that she couldn't stop thinking about him. I confronted my husband about the letter, and he was shocked. He swore that he had no idea she felt that way, and that their reconnection had been purely platonic. He showed me their messages, and it did seem that he had not reciprocated her feelings. However, I couldn't help but feel a sense of betrayal and insecurity. This discovery led to a deeper conversation about our relationship and the issues we had been facing. My husband revealed that he had been feeling neglected and unappreciated lately, which is why he had been trying to plan special dates for us. I, in turn, shared that I had been feeling overwhelmed with work and had been unintentionally distant. We both realized that we needed to work on our communication and make more of an effort to prioritize our relationship. We agreed to start seeing a couples therapist to help us navigate these challenges. Looking back, I realized that my husband's attempts at planning dates, while misguided, were coming from a place of love. He was trying to reconnect with me in his own way. And while the letter from his ex was a shock, it ultimately led to a much-needed conversation about our relationship. In the end, we decided to take a short break from each other to reflect on what we both want and need from our marriage. It's been a bittersweet few days, filled with both challenges and realizations. I'm hopeful that with time and effort, we can rebuild our connection and come out stronger on the other side. Thanks for reading and for all your support. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.